Everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video, which is going to be the first episode of this new series on my channel called Makeup and Mental Health. Excuse the fact that I'm crouching down, but this is the best lighting to show you the makeup. This is what we've gone for today. It is just a warm and dark smoky eye. I hope you enjoy the makeup tutorial, and I also hope you enjoy the mental health topic we talk about today. We talk about depression, how depression feels, how to help somebody with depression, and tips and advice on how I help myself with my depression. So I really hope you guys find this video helpful. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get into it. Okay guys, so let's get into this makeup. So I'm going to start with my brows as usual, and I'm using the Bare Brows gel to lay my brows down flat, and I'm basically just going to push this through my brows and set them into place. But whilst we do that, we are going to start talking about mental health. This is my first kind of episode of the Makeup and Mental Health series, and apologies if this video is going to be long. I'm going to have to multitask. But yeah, today we're going to start talking about depression. And I personally have depression, so this is something that I can talk about from my experience. I am not a professional at all. If you are struggling, please seek professional help. Talk to a friend, talk to a family. You can message me. But yeah, I just wanted to add a little disclaimer that I'm not a professional and this is just my experience and my advice. I'm now just going to carve out underneath my brows with the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. So I have been diagnosed with depression ever since I think it feels like forever. I think it's since I was like 13, and I went to the GP and they referred me to counselling, and that is when then I got diagnosed. And firstly, with depression, I just want to kind of talk about what it feels like to provide anybody who wants to help anyone with depression. I feel like we need to first get an understanding of what that person is going through. So I'm going to explain what depression feels like for me. It might not be the same for everybody. It definitely probably won't be the same for everybody, but I feel like it's a good place to start. So for me, depression feels like, it kind of feels like a big cloud over everything. So everything is kind of tainted with like a darker viewpoint of the world, or like a darker thought process about things. And it doesn't happen all the time for me. It's not, you know, it's not a daily thing. It can come and go. Most of the time when it is here to stay, when she's here to show her little face, it can last probably, it tends to last usually at least a week. It's not something that then kind of goes quickly. I have to really work to try and get through it. And I think the first thing that I try and do is to be patient with myself. So it's something that I don't try really quickly to get out of, because I know that that's not going to work, and then it's just going to in turn make me feel worse about myself because I can't get myself out of that place, if that makes sense. So my advice to anybody with depression would be to first kind of accept that it has came back and you're going through a depressed phase, and to just be patient with yourself first. I feel like you have to almost treat yourself as if you're poorly with like an actual physical illness, to then give yourself the time and the energy to fully heal, and just to have that space where you are accepting of yourself with the depression. Like, you're not first initially battling it off straight away, because, you know, obviously it's not something you want, but it's happening, so you might as well try and give yourself a little bit of grace when you do start to feel depressed. And that's what I find works for me anyway. I just try and accept that it's happening and give myself the time to initially feel like that's okay, and to sit with it for a little bit. Now I'm just going to set this with my Huda Beauty powder. Depression for me also affects me in terms of my like productivity, and I feel like I can say that for everybody when I say that. Like, if you are depressed, you're not going to be doing everything that you usually would if you weren't. You're not going to be as productive. You are going to find it hard to even brush your teeth some days. And I used to feel a lot of shame in saying that, but realizing that it is an actual illness and it is out of your control. It is not you choosing to be lazy. It is not you choosing to be any less of a productive person. You physically cannot, and you're not being lazy. It is genuinely like a chemical imbalance in your brain or whatever it is that's causing your depression. It's valid, and it is not something that you have chosen. So I really want you to try, and give yourself like that credit that it is not your fault, because depression can feel so isolating and like it's all in your head, so that it's like then feels like your fault because it's you creating those thoughts, but it's not, okay? It is not your fault, and I really want you to try and work on that, because it's something I struggled with for a long time, feeling like it was my fault, and it's definitely not. And I know that depression can feel so isolating and like you're the only one experiencing it. I promise you're not. You might be the only one experiencing it in the exact same way that you do, but you're not the only one experiencing it like at all. For eyeshadow today, we're going in with the P. Louise Wedding Wish XL palette, and I'm first going in with the black shade, which is called No Objections, and I'm just taking this on a dense fluffy brush. I'm going to be packing this onto the lid. So the first thing that I think of that helps me with my depression is affirmations. Now, I'm probably going to get some reactions of being like, why not gratitude? Gratitude for me, and I don't know if this is going to be the same for everybody with depression, but sometimes it is so unbelievably hard to feel grateful for anything in those moments when you are so depressed, and it in turn makes me feel even more guilty for not feeling grateful for the life that I have, because I know that I have, like, on paper, a really good life. So it does in turn make you feel quite guilty. So no, gratitude is not something that really helps me with my depression. It can help me in day-to-day life if I'm not depressed. I'm not diminishing how gratitude is a very good, you know, practice for people, but it just doesn't work for me all the time. So yeah, affirmations is probably my first go-to piece of advice for depression, because it's a lot more accessible than gratitude. You don't have to think as much, and it feels a little less, there's like a little less barrier to it. So for me, affirmations are things that I tell myself when I am feeling depressed. I have a list already written down so that I don't have to think of them when I am depressed, and I would recommend you do the same thing. So it's sort of things like I am loved, I am good enough. They can be anything that you feel is going to help you in that moment. So a lot of the time the thoughts that we have can be stemmed from our childhood. So in my affirmations, I try and counteract the things that I did feel as a child, or things that I know are going to help me and comfort me in that moment. So I have things such as like, I am safe, I am loved, I am in charge of my life now, like I am here for myself now, I am the only person that I need. And I will sit and tell myself these, read them out to yourself or read them out loud to yourself, and it really genuinely does help. Sometimes it doesn't help as much as others, guaranteed. I'm now going in with the shade Blessing, which is a dark brown. I'm just blending this out in my crease. But yeah, I just feel like affirmations can really help to combat those dark thoughts, because they kind of replace the dark thoughts with something a bit more positive without you really having to try really hard, and you don't actually have to shift your mindset yourself. You're reliant on those affirmations doing that for you, kind of thing, which I find really beneficial. Another thing that helps me with depression is having a list of things that I enjoy when I am not depressed. So when we're depressed, we tend to not really enjoy anything that we once enjoyed when we were happy. So having a list of those things that you know you enjoy when you're not depressed can help you to do those things when you are depressed, because I then try and like do those things on that list. Even if I know it's not going to provide me with the same level of happiness when I'm not depressed, it is still going to help somewhat, and it's going to help a little bit to feel like my normal usual self. So for me, I really enjoy doing my nails, and that is something that I can easily do at home if I'm depressed. Like, I don't have to leave the house, I can just do them, listen to some like music, a podcast, or put on like a series or anything whilst I'm doing my nails, and that really helps me to feel like my usual self and also provide myself with like a little bit of happiness. I'm not going to feel like I'm completely happy, of course that's not realistic, but it does help to some extent to make me feel like I've kind of got things a bit more under control than my brain is currently telling me. I'm now going in with the shade Togetherness, which is like a burnt orange shade. I'm going in on an even fluffier brush, and we're just going to blend this out even more. With a smoky eye, you always want to start with the darkest shade on your lid and blend upwards. I used to do it the opposite way and blend with the lighter shade first, and you would just, it wouldn't work. Another thing that helps me with depression, which I know is really hard sometimes to do, because when you are depressed you feel like you're so alone, you feel like nobody understands anything that's going on in your brain, and it's okay that they don't. It really is okay, and it is to reach out to people. And I know that it can feel like such a big ask to reach out to people when you are depressed, because you don't want to burden them, you feel like they don't understand anyway, so what's the point? But there is a point, because depression makes you feel so lonely, and reaching out to people is going to help you feel less alone. Whether that's just somebody telling you that they're there for you, is going to help. I'm now going to pop on some lashes, and I'm using these pair at the bottom, but I believe they are another pair of these lashes, so they're from W7. You can use any lashes you want. I have had my eyelashes done, I don't know if you can properly tell, but they are definitely past their best now, so we're going to need some falsies. I am back, and we're now going to put some gel liner. This is the Maybelline black gel liner in my waterline, and I'm going to start answering some of your guys' questions that I put up a little Instagram question box, and some of you guys have been kind enough to ask me some questions. So the first question that I have been asked is, what do you do to take care, and any tips and advice on this? Now for me, I'd probably say I've kind of already touched on this. The main thing I do to take care of myself when I'm depressed or when I'm anxious, any kind of way that I'm feeling with my mental health, if I have anything with BPD that's affecting me, I will treat myself as if I am poorly, because your brain is poorly at that moment in time. So it really helps me to treat myself like that, like you would if you're poorly, sorry, I can't speak. Give yourself the rest that you need, give yourself the time that you need to just sit and be in it for a while, but don't stay there for too long. That would be the main thing that I do. Again, I've already spoke about the affirmations, that really helps me. But I think this is very individual to the person who is struggling with depression. I'm now going in with my Maybelline Fit Me foundation. I washed my brushes, guys, the other day. Honestly, best decision I ever did. Yeah, I do think it's really hard to give advice on how to take care of yourself, because I do think it's very individual based on kind of what your experience of depression or anxiety or any mental health disorder is like, because they're so individual. But for me, what helps me is treating myself like I'm poorly, giving myself the time to feel it and to sit in it for a little while, and just to remember that it's not my fault, it's not my thoughts causing it, it is my mental health condition. And that is something that has taken me a while to come to terms with, because the guilt is quite big whenever I'm struggling with my mental health. I don't know if it's the same for anybody else, but I do blame myself quite a lot, because I'm like, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I be like anybody else? But the thing is, nobody is normal. We all struggle with mental health. Like, we all have a brain. It's all going to be poorly. It's like all of our brain is going to be poorly at times. Like, I've not explained that well. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone is going to experience it at some point in their life, and if they don't, amazing, credit to them. Like, that's why I don't kind of get bothered by people not understanding what I'm going through, because that is a good thing for them. Like, I'm happy that they don't understand, I'm happy that they don't get it, and all I can do is to try and explain what it's like for me, so that they know how to better support me. And that's all you can do if you're struggling with it as well. It's to try and explain it to them the best that you can. I know it's hard, and if you're helping with somebody, just try to listen, and it's okay if you don't get it. I think the main thing is that you're listening and that you're trying to get it. I think that is very beneficial. I know for me as well, distraction can really help sometimes. It depends how I'm feeling. Sometimes it helps to really go into how I'm feeling and to really feel it, and to like journal and get out how I'm feeling. That is one thing that really does help me as well, is to write out what I'm feeling and actually get it onto paper, because it validates it, because you can actually see your problems, but it also makes you realize sometimes that they're not as big as you thought they were. But But yeah, I try and write it down. I forgot what my point of that was. Yeah, sometimes it's good to feel it and to get into it, and sometimes it's good and what you need is to distract yourself from it. I'm now going in with my BFF face frosting in the shade Toffee Truffle. I think just try and listen to what you're feeling, and depending on which you feel is right, just go with that. It doesn't have to be the same, like you don't have to help yourself in the same way each time. You can alter it depending on how you're feeling, and if something isn't working for you one time and it did the other time, that's okay. Like it doesn't mean that you are failing at helping yourself. It just means that you need something different that day. I feel like I rambled on that question, so I'm really sorry. Someone else has asked, does mental health feel the same all year round? For me, yes. It doesn't really change depending on the seasons or anything. I mean, some things do get a little bit worse in winter because of obviously seasonal affective disorder, but I wouldn't say that it changes massively for me. I kind of think that it is the same all year round. It is more dependent on my individual circumstances at that time, or like what's going on in my life at that time, or like how I am at that time. It's not really dependent on the year for me, but I know that it is for some people. Like some people really do get more depressed in the winter because of the time changes and everything. But yeah, I guess for me it is the same all year round, which is a bit sad that I don't really ever get like a break from it. I'm now going in with my, I was just squeezing out, sorry, my P. Louise Cheek of It cream blush, and this is in the shade Legally Lavender. I look crazy when I first put this on. Somebody else has asked me, where else can I get help apart from seeing a doctor? I found a lot of help online. Like, I think that's why I'm doing these videos now, is because I found so much comfort in watching other people's videos who also were struggling with the same things that I was, and it just helped me to make me feel less alone. Obviously, professional help is the best help that you can get, but if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or you don't want to do that, you can always just find comfort in other people online, and it really did help me. So I would highly recommend like following anybody who has the same mental health condition as you, following people who talk about mental health, just because it helps you to feel less alone. Any mental health condition makes you feel like, your brain makes you feel like you're the only one experiencing it, and you're not. Whether you are experiencing it in the exact same way or not, it doesn't matter. I feel like, yeah, sorry, I got a bit passionate about that, but I just feel like it does really help to watch people online, because you don't actually have to then talk about it. I'm just blending in my Maybelline Fit Me concealer underneath my eyes as well. I think this is in the shade 02, by the way, 03. Someone else has asked us, do you always have to take medication for your mental illness? No, you don't. It's definitely your choice and it's up to you. Obviously it can get recommended by the doctors, but you definitely have the right to say no to that. You don't ever have to go on medication for it. And sometimes it really works for people, sometimes it really doesn't. It's genuinely everybody's individual experience, and even if you try it and you don't like it, you can always come off it. I would just really listen to your own feelings about that. Don't try and get like, try not to get persuaded by the doctors or anybody telling you to go on it. If you really don't want to go on it, you don't need to, hun. I'm now just setting this with my Trigwell Cosmetics, and I washed her, oh my god. I washed all my brushes the other day and it's so much better. Just setting underneath my eyes with this powder. As you guys know, I was on medication. I've tried 2 different types of antidepressants now, and now I'm on none at all. I came off it for many reasons. It did help me. It helped me for quite a while, and I think it always, like whenever I went on them, it helped me for the start a lot more than like for the whole time that I was on it, kind of thing. It kind of used to wear off a little bit, which I'm not sure if that is normal or if anybody else has experienced that as well, but that was my experience of it. So I came off because it was then making me quite numb, and I wasn't feeling like the happy emotions, and I was still experiencing my breakdowns. I think that's the thing, it really varies on the type of mental health condition that you have as well, because for me with my BPD, medication isn't going to solve that. It's a lot deeper than that. It's not just like a chemical imbalance like depression can be in people. So I think sometimes medication can really work for specific problems like depression, anxiety, I know that medication helps them a lot more than say things like schizophrenia, BPD, other ones. So I feel like depending on what you have as well, which you can obviously talk to your doctor about, sometimes it really works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. I'm now going in with my NYX bronzer in the shade medium. I'm still obsessed with this, and I'm just setting where I put that BFF face frosting. Someone has asked, can I see a doctor without telling my parents? I am not skilled on this answer, but I do have experience with this. So when I was in school, I think I've said before on my channel that my mental health started when I was about 13, and I was not able to see a doctor without my parents knowing because I was under the age of 16. I'm not sure if it's 16 where you can then go and see a doctor without your parents knowing. And obviously for many reasons people can want to go and see a doctor without their parents knowing. For me, I had to have them involved. The school made them involved. I have a lot of trauma around that, but yeah, they made my parents involved because they had to tell them because I was so young, which I do understand now. At the time it was very traumatic and it was the worst thing they could have done. Like, it didn't help, it kind of made things worse for a little while. But I understand why that kind of rule is in place. I think if you are under the age of 16, you probably will have to go with your parents, unfortunately. But if you are older and you feel like you can and you feel like you want to, I think you obviously can. And I'm not sure what that age is. It might be 16 or it might be 18, where you have to be that age before you can go and speak to a doctor about your mental health without your parents there. I'm now just going to bake underneath that contour with my powder and powder puff again. Somebody has asked me what techniques work for calming anxiety. So for me, I don't get anxious all the time. I'm more the depressed type. But when I do, what helps me is distraction. Rather than sitting with it and spiraling with the thoughts, distraction tends to help me. And for me, it's going to sound really weird, but when I'm anxious or when I'm having like a BPD breakdown, what helps me is to watch a YouTube video of somebody doing their nails. And I know it sounds really crazy, but there's this channel that I watch. I can't remember her name. I think it's the Beauty Vault. And she does her nails, and I will just sit and watch that and my brain just gets switched off and I'm focused on the nails. So for me, with anxiety, it is distraction, and I feel like that does really help. Also, yeah, grounding techniques really work for me. So things like holding an ice cube, making yourself feel more like present, or things such as thinking of 5 things in the room that are red that you can see, or listing 2 things that you can hear in the room. Things like that that bring you back down to the present moment really help, because obviously your thoughts are going so crazy, and to try and turn them off helps. Like, distracting helps to try and turn them off, basically, for me. I'm now just taking that brush that I had the dark brown on, and I'm just going to pop this underneath my lower lash line and blend this out. I'm not going to go in with the black because I feel like that is a little bit too dark for under the eye. For blush, I'm going in with my Doll Beauty blush, and this is in the shade Take Me to the Peach. Yep, I love this stuff. I will never stop using it. I'm just popping this where I put that P. Louise Cheek of It blush. For highlighter, I'm going in with my Technique Get Gorgeous highlighter, and this is kind of like a pinky shade one. I love this stuff so much as well. I'm just popping this everywhere, basically. But yeah, I think that is kind of all of my advice that I have on depression. I feel like I've just absolutely rambled, so I really hope that it does make sense when I come to edit this, and I hope I've provided anybody, just even one person, with some kind of comfort that you're not alone and that there is help out there and it does get better. You just have to keep going. I'm also going to pop this on my inner corners as well, and I'm going to pop this on my brow bone as well. I'm just going to pop some mascara on my bottom lashes. But yeah, I just want the main point of this video to demonstrate to people that depression is a legitimate illness. you cannot help doing the things that you do or cannot do when you're depressed. So please be patient with people. If you know anybody who is depressed, it's not their fault. It's not your fault if you are depressed. And try and treat yourself as though you are poorly, because that is really going to help validate your depression and make it feel like it's not your fault, because it isn't. For lips, as usual, I'm taking my Doll Beauty lip liner in the shade Princess. I'm then going in with the Rimmel London Stay Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Be My Baby. It's just like a brown nude. And just pat that into the lip liner. Okay guys, I've just come to the window because you can see my makeup a lot better, but this is the finished look for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the makeup tutorial, and if you struggle with mental health, I really hope that this has helped you feel less alone, or just, I don't know, get some tips or advice, or if you need to help anybody with mental health, I hope this has helped as well. If it has, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed filming it, so thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!